What's good, everyone? James Hicks here from Hicks New Media. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Collective. Today is a very good day. We're gonna have a fantastic discussion. I got some champions behind the scene right now. Let me tell you something, and I'm gonna get out of the way because I want to get into this discussion, and I want to make sure that the audience, everyone listening now or later during the replay, or checking out in any other means, gets an opportunity to engage and interact with the folks talking. Topic of discussion is podcasting. Topic of discussion is social audio and audio content delivery and creation. I've got some podcasters behind the scenes. I've got some developers and some CEOs behind the scenes. Well, I got one CEO, but I got a person who's developing a platform, really kind of changing the game in terms of social audio conversation. So if you got any questions, please put a Q in front of it so we can bubble that up to the panel. But with all that being said, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, look at what I got right here. Somebody take a picture of this dynamic. What is it, the Avengers? Half of the Avengers, or at least a third of them.
Assemble.
I'm gonna put that on a new T-shirt. You know, everybody assemble, right? I tell you what, before we get going, gentlemen, welcome. Appreciate you having here. I'd be remiss as well if I didn't give some shouts out to the community. So appreciate people that are chiming in, that are actually leaving comments. Sammy, we see you, brother. Good to have you here. Mr. Greg, good to see you, man. I know it's been a big week as well for you over with your startup and with your company. So appreciate you coming in. I know this is going to be very compelling for your industry as well. Let me go ahead and get into it. Let everyone get a chance to introduce themselves. Let me start with, I'll go straight up to the top. Let me go with Mr. Worthy. Let me start with you, sir. Tell the people who you are and what you do.
Oh, good deal. Hey, everybody. How are you guys doing out there? My name's Steve Worthy. Oh, gosh. From a podcasting standpoint, I have two podcasts, Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy, where we focus on retail leaders, helping them understand how to grow their, communication, understand their culture so that they can advance in their career. And then we just launched a new project, Podcasters Live, where we help audio podcasters, if you will, understand the importance of going live so that they can use live streaming to grow their audience and also enhance their brand. Pretty stoked to be here, man. Dayside, I'm a retail executive and also an executive coach. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation, man.
Awesome. Appreciate you here. And I just put the comment up from Greg. He says, click like a chicken to verify. Man, I need some more moderators in the room, because this man can come and derail the entire conversation, but that's all good. I love it. Jamey, how about you, sir?
Hey everyone. So I'm Jamey. It's amazing to be connected with you all and involved in this conversation. I am in this order, a dad, podcaster, programmer, company owner, because I'm more like I care about the kids, right? But yeah, with the podcasts, I create 3 separate ones, 2 which are about developer outreach. So I want to try and share my knowledge and share the knowledge of other developers I know with people in the community, because it's actually quite hard to get started in development. I mean, it's easy. You just download the tools, you watch a YouTube, you go to a boot camp or whatever. But like the sharing of the knowledge of the people that are maybe more senior than you, people who've had a little bit more experience, it's actually quite hard to get that information. So I'm all about sharing that out, share that experience, get people up to a slightly higher level, and then we can all make better software, right? Because that's the idea, is just let's make better software. And another one that I do is about just silly video game conversations. And that's all it is. We sit together, we talk about the video games we've been playing, and we talk nonsense. That's what we do. But yeah, other than that, yeah, that's
It's a good
programmer.
life,
I
it
run a
sounds like.
company, so
Yeah.
it's stressful
Sounds like
because I
it's a
still
good
work
life.
full time, and I still do all the podcasting, but I still work full time. So
I love it. I love it. Appreciate you, man. We are definitely going to be looking for your insight as we dive into this discussion, because again, you're living and breathing it from a daily podcast content creator perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour, the man who kind of instigated a lot of this conversation right near. Amit, talk to the folks. Tell the folks who you are. Amit Kukreja. Tell the people who you are.
What's up? What's up? Thank you, James, for having me on. Really appreciate it. My name's Amit. Started a new platform because I kind of got fed up and really annoyed with how audio content was being distributed over the past year and a half. Launched that platform in April. We're about 8 months into it. We have about 1,600 users. We're trying to grow the platform. And in a nutshell, I'm sure we'll get deeper into it today. We're trying to do what YouTube did for video and do the exact same thing for audio. And I think if we can do that, there is a world in which everything changes about podcasting. So excited to talk about it today.
See, you just opened an entire can of whatchamacallit with that, right? You're trying to do what YouTube did. And we all know where YouTube is from an ecosystem perspective, right? Being part of Google, being the biggest search engines in the world, where everyone really consumes content. You're really throwing a wrench in the entire algorithm, paradigm, ecosystem, all of that, by trying to change the direction. And I love that. And we want to get into that. But let's start with this, right? Because again, the start of the conversation came from this tweet that you sent out back in November. Everything anyone has ever said on how to promote a podcast is wrong. When I say that, I'm serious. All of the advice, all of it, doesn't solve the problem around audio discovery. This is the thread that can actually change how you think about audio forever. And that's deep, right? That's deep. So let's just go around the room, right? Again, I'm gonna be the guy heckling from the back of the house. But Steve, let me start with you, man. What your thoughts on? Let's do this. Have you bring some context behind this statement right here, and then let's go around the room and have folks break that down.
Yeah. Now it's meant to be serious, but it's also meant to be not personal. So if you're a podcast coach and you've said, start a community, get on Twitter, get active, transcript your show, make sure Google can make it searchable. All of that advice is good. It's not like it's bad advice, but this is a problem that is trying to be tackled. Spotify's trying to tackle it, Apple, like everyone who's big, and little old me, there's a 99% chance I fail, but damn it, I'm trying to tackle it because I think I actually have something that might tackle it better than the big guys, even though that sounds crazy, is about discovering audio at scale. Anyone can start a social media feed. Anyone can start a little Discord for their podcast. Anyone can live stream to Facebook. This is a question of, can you get the world to come to a place in which there are network effects? We'll talk more about that. There's supply and demand of attention, and there's an ecosystem that is thriving that actually facilitates the discovery mechanism for audio content. I don't think any podcast coach that I know has been able to tackle that problem. They've been able to give you good advice on how to set up a website for your podcast, but they've not tackled a multi-billion-dollar problem a multi-hundred-billion-dollar problem, I think, in the next 20 years as audio continues to grow. And that's the context behind this statement. This is a macro level issue that exists in the content space, specifically in audio. And that's why I think most of the advice around podcast discovery doesn't make any sense, because they're not solving the root cause of the problem.
Interesting. Yeah. Mr. Worthy.
Yeah, man. I stumbled upon that tweet, and I read the entire thread, and hopefully you saw me. I was hearting down all the way down the line, and I was like, this dude is on something. Like, he's poking a bear in a good way, He's trying to make you think outside the box from a discoverability standpoint, while not calling the baby ugly, but he's kind of calling the baby ugly because, you know, you got to figure out how to do something a little different. And one of the things that you put in there was around the RSS feed, because there's this massive debate as it relates to, you know, whether it's the, you know, the old mindset as it relates to podcasts, and then of course the this new school, if you will, of what a podcast is. And I guess I would like to start with that question to you. Like, what is your definition of a podcast? Because I think that will kind of help people kind of understand a little bit more about what you're trying to do.
Mm.
That's a great first question to start it off with. I think that's what Audea, which is the name of the platform, and it stands for Audio Idea, is trying to replace. When I think someone says podcast, there's a lot of heavy emotional burdens associated with that name, because it's usually a couple hours, usually got to have guests, usually has to have a theme, usually has to be edited, quality, got to get the next $400 mic on Amazon that they recommend. Like there's so much weight associated with this concept of a podcast that I think if we were to change that concept and make it an audio idea, an Audea, in which someone could just upload their audio ideas about the world, which could be really good, high quality podcast, but it could also be a motivational speech. It could be a comedy bit. It could be a 5-minute rant about the nature of existence, whatever it may be. Then I think that would disrupt the notion of what a podcast is. Right now,
Wow.
A podcast is intrinsically attached to an RSS feed. For those who are listening that don't know what an RSS feed is, it's a pretty awesome thing that exists on the internet. It is a decentralized protocol that is open sourced, which means any website, any application that attaches to the RSS feed can get the content from the person who distributed via the RSS feed. So a popular one is Buzzsprout, Anchor. You've got a bunch of these guys. You pay them a couple bucks a month. Some of them are free. You toss in your audio file and they do the heavy lifting, at least what they claim is the heavy lifting, of distributing it to any platform.
Right.
All those platforms are great. The only ones that matter are Spotify and Apple. The rest of them are whatever, right? Spotify and Apple are
Now
the
you're talking the truth. Now, see that here we go. See, these are the conversations that I wanted to have, right? So again, raising above the noise. Go ahead, man. That's good stuff.
So that RSS feed decentralizes your content, and then the rest of the world's platforms get to host that content.
Mm-hmm.
This means that a platform does not truly exist in the current day, in which you literally upload the audio to the platform, and then the platform now has the responsibility, and I would argue the ethical responsibility, to do something with that content. Spotify and Apple are getting your content from RSS feeds, meaning they don't have to do anything. They just connect to the RSS feed and it shows up on the platform. Well, this involves a couple of trade-offs because, okay, one click, I'm on every platform. The problem is the platform actually going to do something with my content? And the reason Spotify in particular has gone down this route of becoming a Netflix of podcasts, of buying up all these major names, is because they realize something really quick. We have no differentiation from Apple or Overcast or Podchaser or any of these guys. Why? Because it's the same damn RSS feed. Mm-hmm. Everyone's connecting to it. So unless the user experience or user interface is that phenomenal, which for Spotify and Apple it's really not, then why would people consume this content on our platform? So what do? They go after music. That's pretty proprietary, right? It's hard to get music license, right? So they got music there. And then number two, the only other way to get you to come, because at the end of the day, they're trying to sell a $10 subscription. That is their goal, is to get exclusive content, Joe Rogan, Michelle and Barack Obama, whatever, put it in front of your face. Now you get on it. Now you're more likely to be engaged in their ecosystem. So to answer your question, the RSS feed is intrinsically attached to a podcast. And I think if we were to destroy that paradigm and just have a centralized platform like a YouTube, where you upload your audio ideas to that platform, and now that platform, and we can get deeper into this, has the algorithmic capacity to get your shit in front of people, then we change everything. And now we're talking about a real YouTube of audio, a real Google of audio, a real platform where people are searching and discovering content, not a platform that is simply hosting the content from the RSS feed. Now, the biggest response I get from people who are proponents of the RSS feed say, well, you're making me do more work and I don't want my content to be centralized. I want it to be open. I don't want anyone to control me. I want to be independent. Right. You idiot. Why are you on Twitter posting tweets in which Twitter can censor you, or YouTube with your videos, or Instagram or Facebook? And I don't mean to say idiot in a bad way. I just mean to say, because you only get attention when you go somewhere where everyone is already at. Guess what? That happens on a centralized platform. So the irony of people caring so much about their decentralized RSS feed, but then marketing all of their content on a centralized platform is the exact problem that exists. And I think we just need to centralize audio in one place to solve it.
Man,
hold on.
Damn, son.
We got RCP, we got roadcasters all over the place with the sound
Lord
effects.
have mercy.
Let's just pause for a minute, because you came with some haymakers, brother. You trying to burn the building down, but I think in a good way, trying to burn the building down, the shack, and build up a mansion. You definitely passionate about it, and that right there intrigues us right here. You definitely feel what you feel, and on a mission to make it happen. The YouTube of audio, the YouTube of podcasting, that folks can understand that, right? In terms of where that direction and where that mission is, of where audeas.io is working. I'm not even gonna say trying to go anywhere. I'm just is going to get to. Love the explanation. I know folks are watching right now on LinkedIn, if they're still working, but LinkedIn is a lot of it from the business side. I wish the folks on Twitter could comment, because I see there's a handful of folks, well, even more than a handful of folks on Twitter that are watching right now. So, but appreciate that, Jamey. It's tough, man, because you got to follow that, right? You got to follow that, and in terms of what Amit was talking about, your thoughts in regards to his tweet that he's sitting out. And let me ask you your thoughts on the direction that he wants to take the whole audio conversation, social content from an audio perspective. Because again, you're living the game every day. You've got the 100,000 plus over subscribers and viewers on your platform that you do. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So first thing I want to say is that nobody changed the world by being quiet and without shouting out about how things are wrong, right?
Yeah.
You want to change the world, you got to make a lot of noise, right? And so I guess I'm unlike some of the people that you've been talking to, Amit. I literally don't care where the content goes as long as people can access it, right? Because for me, my content is helping people out. That's my goal. That's my one goal with my podcast stuff is share this knowledge, share this experience, get this conversation going. And so I'm not bothered about whether it's a centralized or decentralized system. And I completely agree with you in that in the Twitter thread, you'd said something like, when you start a podcast, you said it just now, you get told, create your community. Well, how are you going to create the community, right? Then bring people in the community and get them to sort of spread it out for you. Well, again, you're still having that problem. How do you get the people there, right? Because, and I've seen this with the video game podcast, because I just do it for fun, right? This one particular one, I do it for fun, creative outlet, just try some things out. We've done all sorts of things, like we've had a little back masking in episodes. We've had fun with sound effects and playing around with our audio and seeing what we could make. And those experiments have bled into the other shows. We've got an episode of Tabs and Spaces coming out where we interview someone, and we have a little couch gag at the beginning of the show. Someone says Tabs and Spaces, and then a silly, stupid joke. And the joke in this one was Tabs and Spaces, where the recursion never ends. And if you don't know what recursion is, it's doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I used the knowledge that I had from producing the video game podcast to make it sound like that's echoing on forever for the next couple of seconds. Right? Because it's the joke about it never ending, and I'm all about getting that content out there. So I do this stuff for free. But the point I was making is that the video gaming one, right, especially in the UK where I am, if you want to advertise, hey, I have a video game podcast, well, guess what, sucker? 500,000 other people also have video game podcasts. You ain't gonna get your message out because you're shouting into the void, because everyone does it, right? And especially in these last few years, for some people, they've been locked in their houses. We're not going to talk about the current situation, but some people have been locked in their houses. They've bought the $400 microphone from Amazon, and they've gone, you know what? I'll start a show because I got nothing else to do. And the best of luck to them. So the market is just horrendously oversaturated. And so I welcome this idea of one central place to go to get all of that content. Like you were saying, Amit, it is the YouTube of audio, and I'm fine with that. Guess what I do when I'm bored? I sit at the computer, I go to YouTube, and I watch a video. I go to Netflix and watch a video. You know, I don't sit there and go, which open source decentralized video sharing platform should I look at today? You know?
Well, there isn't one as well. That's another reason you don't do it, right? There isn't a
Exactly.
decentralized.
Yep. Let me ask this, man. I mean, you know, why? I get there, and there could be two reasons, right? And you made a statement, and I'm wondering if you're going to repeat the statement. So I'm kind of setting you up. Why do you think we need Audea?
I've been on a Zoom call face to face with 800 podcasters over the past 6 months. I have 1,600 paragraphs of testimonials that I'd be willing to share publicly. So you guys, I have shared them. You guys can see them. A lot of small creators, and this comes from my philosophical side, which is that in order for creativity to matter, there needs to be an audience at the end of the day. Now, that sounds kind of crazy because it's like, what are you saying? Like, people should be able to be creative. They should be able to do with it. It's like, yes, that's fine. But if you write the world's greatest book and no one reads it, it ultimately wasn't a meaningful book, even though it was the world's best book. So audience development to me is something I'm very passionate about from a philosophical perspective. I've spoken to people in this industry that are saying that don't have as big of an audience, that they have phenomenal content, and their phenomenal content is dying on the traditional platforms, Spotify and Apple, because those platforms aren't giving them the time of day. And it's really interesting because a month ago, I started my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel has nothing to do with podcasting. It has everything to do with stocks and business because I like to have multiple heads and I like to talk about other things. I had 0 subscribers on November 11th. Today's December 22nd. I have 1,700 subscribers.
Wow.
The reason I have 1,700, but listen, this is the important thing. It is not because I'm amazing. Like, yes, people saw the content. They were like, all right, it's good. I'm going to subscribe. It is because I recognized there were certain keywords in the stocks and business niche that were trending, and I made videos around that. I saw trends that were working, and YouTube, like through digital magic, had an algorithm that took this random guy from New Jersey who's not Jim Cramer, who's not on CNBC, but who has some thoughts about investing, and put it in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and 1,700 people in today's attention economy voted with the subscribe button to me.
Yeah.
The reason I'm so passionate about it is because there are so many audio creators, video games, stocks, like so many different niches that simply aren't getting the time of day on Spotify and Apple because those platforms have a fiduciary commitment to not serve them, but rather serve the shareholders, which are music and our exclusive shows. And I believe if there was a platform that was for the creator, not from a buzzword perspective, but truly algorithmically for the creator and had an innovative way to approach audio, then I think that would explode. And when you say, why do we need this? I think because a lot of creators that simply aren't going to develop an audience, 95% of podcasters quit after 10 episodes. Is it part of consistency, persistency, and not knowing enough about marketing? Sure. But I would bet a lot of them are just realizing there's no path, there's no framework to grow. After I got my first 100 subscribers on YouTube, I was like, oh, shoot, I can actually grow this. And I think if that potential existed for audio, more people would communicate.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mr. Riley, good to see you in the comments, sir. I'm not sure if you were here at the beginning. We are talking about the theory behind podcasting and why it may or may not be right, the way that it has been set up all of these years, heck, all of these decades, right? And talking about how we're going to change that whole paradigm, right? Either in our channels, our societies, our communities, and maybe even taking advantage of a new methodology, using audea.io, which is incredibly cool. And Amit has been definitely breaking that down for us. Steve, go into a little bit of more discussion about your thoughts on how you think you can leverage something like, again, social audio discovery, right? Because you're launching Podcasters Live with kind of that traditional paradigm, that traditional thought pattern of how I'm going to reach out to my community and reach out to my audience. But Amit's throwing kind of he's throwing you a curveball right now, and it may be good. And talk to us a little bit about your thoughts, though.
Yeah, no, I think there's room for both. Because I think discoverability for me, when I think we talked a little bit about it before we came on air, talked about discoverability. I think always when everybody think about discoverability, well, here's the thing about podcasters, right? Whenever we start our stuff and we put it out there, we want to blow up so freaking quickly to get all these freaking downloads. It's just not going to happen that way. It's just not, unless you already got some backing and you're already superstar, whoever you are, right? And so I think you do have to understand that there is going to take some time to do it. So discoverability has its own path and its own time frame associated with it. So with Podcasters Live, we're just looking at another vehicle, right, for discoverability as it relates to live streaming. So Amit's point around, someone goes out there, buys that $400 microphone. Well, we're trying to provide them another avenue to actually utilize that microphone, to grow their audience in a different fashion. So that way they can actually probably go to Audia. Is it Audia?
Audia.
Yep. Audia. So that they can now probably go to Audia and actually, put their content on there and actually enhance their discoverability as well. One of the things that I was questioning, my head was down. I wasn't falling asleep. I'm a student, and so I write down everything. And you were talking, Matt, about earlier around the different platforms, where you just put your stuff and they don't do anything with it, right? And I wrote that down. I was like, do something with the content. What do you want, or what does Audio do, right, that these other guys don't do? Because you said they're not doing anything with their content. What are you doing? What is your platform doing with the content? Because I think there has to be some activities. What you're talking about, their piece is passive. It's just there sitting, right? And that's just it. And then we have to push everybody to those platforms. But is Audio actually doing something different to be active and push it out?
Yes, that is a phenomenal question. I think this will be a good point of discussion. So if anyone downloads the app, it's AUDEA on the App Store. We're working on Android. As soon as you pull it up, or even right there, this is a feed of audio ideas. If you click on these are static images with audio behind them. Already, this right here, before I even get into anything else, is better than what Spotify and Apple is doing. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because these are random people that are showing up on this feed. Your question, Steve, getting a little bit more deeper into it, is how do you kind of show this content, right? And this is where we have an elementary artificial intelligence algorithm built into the platform. So as soon as you sign up, you tell us some categories you like, motivation, finance, whatever. Then, okay, we show you that content. But it has to get deeper in that. You click on another piece of content, we register that within the algorithm, we see how long you listen to that. There's a ton of different variables I can talk about that are technical, but ultimately we try to create a personalized recommendation system based upon the content that is uploaded and based upon the actions the user has taken to give them a better feed of audio that exists. This is what YouTube has done with video. And the reason YouTube gets 2 billion people coming back to the platform every month is because when people are asking this multi-billion-dollar question, which is, what do I watch today? Netflix is trying to answer that question. HBO is trying to answer that question. A lot of places are trying to answer that question. YouTube, because it has search results and it has keywords and it has algorithmic functionality, is able to best answer that question, in my opinion. But the question becomes, when a platform answers that question, who gets the benefit of that question being answered? And on YouTube, creators get that benefit because it's all user-generated content. 55% of the advertising revenue goes to creators. I made $30 yesterday. I'm a nobody. That made $30. That's gas money in New Jersey right now.
make it plain, brother. There it is.
That's 2 gallons in Jersey. That's 2 gallons.
Right, exactly. Now, so the difference here between Spotify and Apple is if you go on Apple's home feed, you have ESPN, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Daily. You have legacy media companies, and there's a really good clip, you should pull this up one day, of Steve Jobs talking about how he does not want bloggers to take over the internet. He wants legacy media companies because he believes they have the best content moderation to ultimately control the basis by which people consume content. Apple doesn't also want to sell ads. Spotify, the first thing you go up, the new Drake album came out in September. I discovered 2 Canadian kids in Toronto breaking down the Drake album. Phenomenal. They did such a great analysis of that album. I subscribed to them. They had 5,000 subscribers in September. They have 50,000 today. Why did their podcast go from 5 to 50,000? Because there was an algorithm underneath the platform they were posting their content on, showing their Drake review album breakdown to people that cared about Drake, a la me. Therefore, I clicked on it. When I went on Spotify on September 3rd, when it came out, I got Spotify exclusive, Breaking Down Certified Lover Boy. I didn't click on that shit because I don't care about, I don't care about Spotify. Now,
there you go.
Some people might. That's totally fine. I'm being a little bit aggressive here to make the point that what Audia is trying to do is say, okay, if you broke down the Drake album and you did it in audio format, because you didn't do it in video format, and you uploaded it to a platform through an RSS feed, and it's sitting there and it's dying, it's not your fault. Yes, you got to do marketing. Yes, you got to get Twitter, all that stuff, whatever. But these platforms are multi-$100 billion companies. They have an ethical responsibility to the people that are fueling these platforms with content to serve in the first place to get them discovered, because we're all trying to get a little bit of piece of the attention pie. And if we can get even a little bit of a piece, that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So Audea is trying to be that platform that gives that discovery to people by putting it in your face. Now, the algorithm has to be good enough to put something good in your face. That's going to take us some time to develop. But if we can do that, I think that we're already different than Spotify and Apple, and we got a chance at that point.
You said the word. He said the word again, right? The ethical piece. That's what I was looking for earlier, right?
Man, James, I hate you because I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, go ahead, man.
Go ahead. I'll just be back here with that.
I'll push back, but
I'll just be back here dropping the Nas hit. You know, so I'll let you go, man. This is you're the guest.
Go ahead. This is your show, man.
Well, again, you think about it. There shows the ownership, and there shows the sincerity in terms of what you're building, the why that you're building the platform, right? By saying that the company needs to be ethical in terms of how it delivers, how it discovers, and how it presents content to folks and users of your platform. So that right there puts you leaps and bounds in my mind. Again, I'm the guy sitting in the back of the room. That puts you leaps and bounds above some of the other more household names who are in it for the marketing dollars, in it for the advertising revenue, in it for something else, as opposed to making sure that what Jamey looks at when he goes onto a social audio content platform resonates and matches with his morals, resonates with what his desires are, and that the underlying framework, that foundation, that platform has his best intentions at hand. Look, we all live in the technology world, and we know that we're all skeptical. We are, right? We're the Doubting Thomases, show me the handprints and show me the prick in the side, because we don't believe what a lot of the technology companies are telling us, and we're concerned about privacy. We're worried about all these things. Some of them are relevant. Some of them, we're stewing in our own head. But I like how the passion from your description resonates in terms of as we walk through the platform just now, and where you plan to go mid and long term as well. So that's I wanted to say that, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't overlook. But Steve, go ahead and dive in, brother.
Well, I did. My apologies, Jamey. I'm skipping my turn. Your turn. One of the things, James and I were just having this conversation the other day about what was the quote that you used earlier, James, around ownership and your platform, and
you definitely want to own the ground as opposed to leasing and renting the land.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I think about what it's talking about, I almost feel like in that same context is that we are renting as a podcaster from a hosting standpoint and distribution, if you will. We're renting, and this is almost allowing us to be ownership, have some measure of ownership for what we're putting out there, because there is a social responsibility side of what he's doing, that as a podcaster. Go ahead.
I gotta cut you off real quick, because what you said is so antithetical to what some of the legacy podcasters are saying. So let me break it down real quick.
Don't worry.
You were saying, okay, you're renting from the hosting platforms. On Audea, you might actually be owning. What I've been getting some pushback on from some of these people that run these podcast blogs is actually on Audea, we're renting space, just like on YouTube, you're renting space, whatever. And on RSS feeds that are independent, we own it, right? We own the independent RSS feed. Now, they are theoretically correct.
Correct.
Yep,
Correct.
You own your RSS feed. No, it can't be censored, blah, blah, you own it. The problem here, again, is the greatest book that the world never reads. It's like, at what point does owning something that is worthless matter? What's worthwhile when it comes to content?
Come on now. Come on, man.
And that's why, Steve, I appreciated when you said, I think you actually have ownership over Audea here, because, and this goes into ethics, business and ethics are not that crazy apart when it comes to content. In some other, like oil companies, sure. Right. But in content, it's actually really similar. We make money, Audea, YouTube, if we put good stuff in front of you. Ethically, correct, we are serving the creators that are making content from Japan to someone in New York, which means it's making that person get a little slice of the attention economy, and that person from New York is getting a good experience. So ethically, you're giving creators an opportunity to get discovered, and then business-wise, those creators are making money, the platform's making money, and the consumer is getting value from it. So Steve, when you said you actually own some piece of land on Audea, I think that makes sense, because even if you don't literally own shares in Audea, as of now, right? Because we're a private company. Having an audience that is coming to one place, like you theoretically own your Twitter audience. Do you literally own them? No, but they're there on Twitter and they followed you because they want to see you. But if there's a decentralized RSS feed where they have to access your tweets from a hosting company for words, like they do for audio, then you don't own it, even though you technically own it. So I just want to say what you say makes a lot of sense. Legacy podcasters say you own your RSS feed. My argument is there's no value to owning that unless it's on a centralized platform.
Man,
But I think RSS
man,
yeah.
hold on, man.
Yeah.
Let me get a drink.
Yeah,
hold on. Let me feel. Jamie, go and chime in, man, because Amit is coming with heat.
Yeah, man. So
Wow.
like just thinking about that discovery, because like think about it from a consumer's point of view, right? Discovering a show, a series of content is difficult to do. Not so much on Netflix, YouTube, whatever, because I just go in, I hit the search button, I type the thing, I type in, whatever I'm interested in, and thousands upon thousands of videos show up. I go onto Netflix, don't even have to type the name of the show if I know the actor who's in it or know the genre that it is, right?
Ooh, that's a good point.
Discoverability, super easy from a consumer's point of view. If I want to listen to a podcast about retail leadership, where do I go? I know
Retail
that
leadership with Steve Worthy.
Yeah, it is. Let me go.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, so I know that, right? I know that, Steve. But someone who doesn't listen to the show doesn't, because the people who don't listen to the show aren't hearing the CTAs you put into the episode. Hey, go to your podcast player, type it in, and hit download. Right? It's almost like you're preaching to the choir. You're telling the converted, hey, you've been or how to be converted. Right?
Wow.
I hate to use those terms or phrases, but that's essentially what you're doing. You're saying to the subscribers, hey, if you want to subscribe, go over here and do it. But actually, that first step of how do these people find your show is actually really difficult unless they're savvy enough to hit Google and type in podcast retail leadership, and then you've then got to hope and pray that your SEO is good enough that yours appears above the big, the other big names. Maybe the people who are paying millions of dollars into Google for their ads. You're hoping that people will skip those very lightly yellow boxes, right? So then they will see yours rather than the injected ads, right? And that's difficult. Whereas I feel like this idea is a great idea because like you can presumably like my question would be, how do I discover something, right? I know that there's an algorithm that does it for me, but like as a creator, I put something onto the audio platform. What do I do? Do I just literally give you the audio and then everything's figured out, or do I have to like spend ages putting in tags and descriptions and keyword stuffing? What's the process, right?
Well, let's get into it. That's a really good discussion as well. What you're talking about, Jamie, is you're talking about a recommendation platform that tells you what to listen to versus you having to go find it on your own. That is incredibly powerful. We've seen that with TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube as well. On Audea, one of the most important things to understand, well, first of all, this is what I was going to say. Joe Rogan. How did Joe Rogan get big? Joe Rogan did not get big because he did 1,700 episodes. That played a part. It was a big part. The way he got big, though, was YouTube. Like, I think people really got to remember this. True. He does a 3-hour podcast with Eric Weinstein. They talk about aliens. They talk about democracy. They talk about free speech. They talk about a bunch of shit. What do they do on YouTube from 2015 to 2020 before he left to Spotify? They take that 3-hour podcast, 10 clips.
Step it up.
Okay, you got 10 clips. Now, clips isn't revolutionary, but what is revolutionary is that each clip gets its own thumbnail, decently attractive thumbnail, gets its own description, gets its own tags, that's fine, but it gets its own title. And on YouTube, everything, and I know this now because I've grown from 0 to 1,700, I really think I'm starting to understand this. The key word in the title is what's going to tell YouTube. YouTube's just a machine. It's unbiased. It's like, yo, you told us this thing was about aliens. We're going to show it to some people who give a shit about aliens. And if they click on it, we'll show it to some more people who care about aliens. So when you have 1,700 clips or 1,700 episodes times 5 clips per episode, we're talking about 5,000 clips, each tagged with different keywords. You are talking about attacking audiences across the world in every single genre that exists. Now, not everyone can do the Joe Rogan approach. Some people are focusing on retail leadership. It's much more niche down. It's much more specific. But even within that niche, there are so many keywords that you can be ranking for. The problem is there is not a platform, as to Jamie's point, that can actually take those keywords and do something with it. So when you go to Audia, as you were saying, Jamey, you give us the audio, you give us descriptions and tags, but most importantly, you give us a thumbnail and title, which is what you see on the screen right now. On Spotify and Apple, what people do is they put their logo as the thumbnail. That doesn't matter, right? Because Spotify's not pushing your logo in front of people, so it's not attractive to click on it. And then they give you and then they give episode 53, right? Episode 53, interview with John Smith. And the reason podcasters are titling and putting the cover art for their episodes like this is because they don't even expect it to get discovered. Like if you uploaded a piece of audio through an RSS feed and you knew that the platform you were uploading it on was going to show it to 10,000 people, you would not put the logo of your podcast as the cover, because who the hell wants to click on your logo? No one even knows you. And you would not put episode 53 with John Smith. You would put this professor of biology talks about, creationism, something that's a little bit more attractive for people to click on. But podcasters are, I say brainwashed in a nice way, to believe that they have to drive all the traffic. So it's not even worth putting into the effort of creating an attractive piece of content to click on. Audia is trying to change that by saying, look, we're going to do the hard part for you. We're going to put your shit in front of people. You just got to do a little bit of hard work of giving us a good thumbnail, a title that people want to click on, so that when we put it in front of them, which is the hard part, they will then click on it. And once they click on it, boom, you're in the game. Because you as a creator, you know that your shit's good. You just need someone to listen on it. So if you can get people to click,
boy, you're making it plain, brother.
You got to make it plain, man. But you're 100% right. Like, so, I mean, when I started initially podcasting, I started, I did the same thing. I did exactly the same what you said. I just put the artwork, whatever it was, the title of it, and then that was it. And then I was like, this is stupid. I said, I got all these different episodes and they're differently titled, and I need something very specific. I didn't even think about the YouTube idea in the context of a thumbnail. Right. It was just more of like the idea of like, well, if I'm talking about the 5 levels of leadership, right? I don't need to just have Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy, right? I should actually have a thumbnail, which I do, that actually says the 5 levels of leadership. And so hopefully, and then that will bring people to click on it, because they like the artwork, and they're like, oh, okay, that's okay. I never thought about the 5 levels of leadership, and let's go ahead and click on it in that context. So right. I think I 100% agree with you in that idea of, we do have to, as podcasters, we do have to do a little bit more legwork, but I think it has to be directed in the right way, because I think a lot of times we are doing certain things that are outside the workflow. And Jamey and I, we talk a lot about this when we meet. We're always challenging each other to make sure that whatever we're trying to create is within our workflow. Because once you start to get outside of your workflow, so to speak, then next thing you know, you're going down a rabbit hole. And I like the idea of audio in the context of like helping me, I guess, leverage my work of what I'm doing up front with the artwork and all this other stuff, because now it actually feels like it's going to matter more so than kind of sit somewhere and not matter. So I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, that it's why people spend a lot of time making sure a Twitter thread is good, because they know that Twitter has algorithms where if I rank for the word podcast, Twitter is going to show that thread one day, hopefully, these fuckers haven't shown it yet, to like hundreds of thousands of people that care about podcasts. And if that thread can go viral, then we've got a game changer, at least for my company, with Audia. So same thing for audio, right? If you like actually put in the hard work and then you put it on a platform that you trust is going to do the really hard part of putting it in front of people, then some people will click. And if you even get 5 new people a day to check it out, like that's more that matters in this economy.
That's true. The right people matter. Let me, I want to be cognizant of everyone's time, because I know folks have things on the calendar, but I want to ask two more questions and then also get Jamey to chime in on some of this as well. Amit, we've talked about the pros. There's got to be cons, right? So again, what are some of the challenges that you're starting to see as you approach creators, as you approach people with your paradigm shift in terms of again sharing audio content out there to our communities?
So there's 2 problems. There's a macro level problem whenever you start a marketplace of ideas, which is the chicken and the egg problem, right? Creators aren't going to come if they don't think there's any consumers to post content for, and consumers aren't going to come if there's not any good content, right? It's a really hard problem that you've got to manage if you're a startup and you're trying to get big. This is why big tech is big tech, because once you've gotten people in one place, it's very difficult for someone else to get them to. That's why, Clubhouse did what they did, and Clubhouse did a pretty phenomenal job. I don't know if they'll survive, but they got people to come to a new place for audio, which is hard to do. So that's the macro level problem. But I think we solved that problem to some extent. We got 1,600 people. We have over 7,000 pieces of audio content on the platform. Are all of them amazing? No. I would say about 20 to 30% of them are pretty decent that I would be willing to put in front of someone's face. So I think we have a decent amount of supply. Now it's about getting demand, and getting demand is hard because we don't have RSS feeds. So, even forget Joe Rogan. We don't even have like the good stuff that's on the 100s of the charts, which is still really good stuff on our platform because we don't connect to RSS feeds. But my whole thing is like, we're not going to become a $1 billion company connecting to RSS feeds because everyone else is doing that shit. And you're never going to beat Spotify and Apple playing that game. And you're never going to have proprietary data, which is what a platform like us needs, which means it has to be uploaded to us in order to get that network effect, in order to get that algorithmic discovery. So the hardest part to answer your question is getting creators to actually find out about the platform. That's why you see me tweeting like a madman every day. And then getting consumers to come to the platform and actually realize, oh, I can search for anything and I'll find audio content. And then it has to be good audio content. So there's a lot of different problems in terms of doing that. But if we can get enough traffic, I think we can start getting the wheel moving on this.
All right. I got another question, and then Jamey, it's your turn. So, how do you want us to send that content? Again, I was just online and from the website and being able to upload content. You
literally press upload and then you upload?
Well, again, what types of content resonate the best? Do you think? Right. So, do I want to actually pull this episode, chop it up, and put it up on Audea? Right, because that's typically what I'll do for a traditional audio podcast. Is that something that resonates with where you think the platform should be going?
Yes, very, very good question here. So there's two types of content that really we're seeing take off on the platform. Number one is people doing the podcast clips, what you mentioned, right? So 3-hour podcast, best 10-minute segments, it's good. 5 to 15 minutes we're seeing on the platform is really good. That's enough to keep your attention. That sounds like an audio versus a podcast. It's enough to answer a question when I search for something. Search up how to lose weight. Instead of a 3-hour podcast, I get, if you do it on audio right now, you'll get like 5 tips for intermittent fasting, right? Intermittent fasting is related to weight loss. It's something that's relevant. You click on it, 5-6 minutes, you consume it, you go about your day. It's a meaningful experience. So it's the podcast clips. That's one part. The second part, and I didn't even get to talk about this yet, but the reason I started this platform was because I wanted to be the next Michael Jackson.
Come with that. Hold on, man. Come with that right there.
You said something about that in your tweet. Did you say something about that in your tweet?
I said that a while ago in my tweet. This is the origin story. This is
if man.
If gets big, this is going to be the story.
Let me put you full screen for this. Go ahead, brother.
By high school, I realized, when Michael Jackson died, his death affected me a lot because I was like 11 when he died. So I didn't know about his music. And when he died, it became so mainstream. And then I heard Billie Jean for the first time. And I was like, this guy is like, he's God to me. Like, it was just incredible. So I wanted to be the next Michael Jackson. By high school, I realized I couldn't sing. So I was like, shit, this is not going to work. Like, I really want to do this, but it's just not going to work. So I found speaking as my creative outlet to get people's attention. So I joined the debate team, and I'm on debate, and I'm on stage now. Now, it's not a stage with 500,000 people, but there's a judge in the back of the room, there's an opponent, and there's me. And I have to present my argument and beat that opponent to get that judge's attention. And I started doing it, and I started winning and winning. Next thing you know, I'm on the national USA debate team. I'm traveling to Croatia, Germany, Slovenia, my senior year of high school, representing the US of America in international competitive debates. I was the 3rd best public speaker in 2015 in Croatia. I'm not saying any of this to brag. I'm saying that I realized that my creative outlet in life, it couldn't be done through music, but there was another audio format it could be done through, which was speaking. So then I was like, in 2020, the platform wasn't even initially for podcasters. I realized that's a big market. We got to care about them. The platform was based on one idea I had during the pandemic in June. What if speakers could be rock stars? What if a motivational speaker could release a speaking album and there could be singles off that album? What if a comedian could release a comedy album? Now, all of this stuff, like a speaking album, spoken word albums, these exist in the Grammys. They're like kind of officially recognized, even though people don't care about them. But I was like, there's not a Spotify for speakers. Like when I think about Spotify, I think about Justin Bieber, his albums, his singles, his top 5 songs. I don't think of like a comedian or a motivational speaker actually having home feed attention on Spotify or having a profile in which Spotify theoretically were to immortalize their content and make sure their content is relevant forever. So I was like, to answer your question, the first type of content are podcast clips. The second type are poets, leadership people, consultants, coaches, comedians, motivational speakers, TED talkers. Imagine if Audea could be a platform where you could give your TED talk without having to go through the institution of TED, right? And that platform could give discoverability at scale, just like Spotify is musicians' little TED talks, except those 4 or 5 minute sound bites are rooted in music. If Audea could be the auditory version of speaking content to have ideas discovered at scale, how many millions of fucking people on the planet that have nothing to do with podcasting would upload their 7-minute ideas to change the world onto a platform that was built for people to discover spoken word audio at scale? To me, it's the YouTube story in 2005 for audio. I think we can, and I think it can be big. So that would be the second form of content: podcasting clips, and then speaking rock stars is what I call them.
Man, oh man.
Yeah, man.
But now I gotta get it big because I can talk a big game on the podcast. It don't mean nothing.
Somebody, my man Eric said it the right way
ahead.
here. Mind blown right now, right? Because you're resonating and you're touching on all the right nerves. I'm pointing up at Steve when you started mentioning about the TEDx talks and the consultants and the subject matter experts. Here's the challenge to you, Mr. Worthy. I need to see some ideas coming out of your dome within the next couple. It just makes sense. It sounds like this is something that makes sense. And again, we always talk about. And Jamey, I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna let you chime in, but we always talk about simplifying the workflow. We always talking about being where our community is and using tools and platforms that matter and resonate, right? Raising above the noise. After having this conversation, because I was purposely skeptical because I wanted to hear it from you, the direction, the mindset, and the why. The what's in it for me part. I definitely see where this can at least fit into my workflow moving forward in the short and midterm. Right. And giving it the real honest college try, making sure that I'm putting out the right content, not obviously publishing this whole 55-minute session, but chopping it up and making it relevant. This is going to be my means of moving off of TikTok. Right. Because I was putting clips on that platform, which was completely outside of my scope. I want to be where my people are. Well, again, so there we go. I'm talking about my stuff, right? I'm telling you what's wrong with me. I'm moving off of the TikTok and I'm moving over to audeas.io. Jamey, tell us what you think, man, because again, you are the man that we've got podcasts as well, right? Myself, Steve, and a lot of other folks that are here, but you've got the longevity, right? You've got the viewers and the uploads and the downloads. You've got a well-established audience. Your thoughts about this?
Yeah, so I've got 4 really short points that I'm very, 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 very aware of the time that we've already used today and what an amazing conversation it's been. I've got 4 very short comments that I'd like to make real quick, and then I'll get on to thoughts about the platform as someone who has I'd say substantial following. I don't want to say large because I don't want to. I don't want to get big-headed.
No, don't be humble though, man. You've got a community and you've got an audience, so that should definitely be celebrated. We're gonna give you these flowers while we can. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. So the 4 really short comments, and Steve will know this. When I get, we sit and chat on Zoom and we have these ideas, and then it sparks several other ideas. So first thing I want to say, Amit, it's really, really interesting to me that you mentioned you wanted to be the next Michael Jackson, right? Because a lot of people don't know that he was a very, very, very savvy businessman, right? He didn't actually make a huge amount of money from his music. He actually made money from investments and purchases. Like
he bought the Beatles catalog, right?
Yeah.
That was literally the example I was going to bring up, right? From under Paul McCartney's feet. Paul McCartney turned to him and said, you want to make money in music, you make money by buying other people's music. And then whilst he was there at his house, Michael Jackson called his lawyer and said, I want to buy the Beatles music. What's that, Paul? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'll buy the music now. Click. Like, that's literally what he did, right? So, and then he then later sold, well, I suppose his estate then later sold it to Sony. But even so, most of his money in the 90s was made by owning other people's music. So there was a point about putting interesting thumbnails and logos. I've always done that, but I didn't realize it was an important thing to do. Right. So like with one of the shows, the .NET Core podcast, it always has the guest as the picture. And I only ever did that, You can see it here on the side of the video. I only do that for the quite plain and simple reason that people are kind of egotistical. If I show them, hey, check out this website with your face on it, they're going to go,
Yeah.
oh, God, everybody, check out this picture with, it's on my face is on this website. And so I didn't realize that it's an important thing.
That guy looks like
I've always,
Bezos. Gosh, I had to do a double take. He does look like Bezos.
he does a bit, doesn't he? I wonder whether, and this is more like a thought exercise for the listeners. I wonder whether put the logo for the podcast as the image, put episode 3 as the title, and publish is perhaps because it worked for someone else who has a big media company behind them, but they didn't realize there's a big media company behind them. So I will just copy them and hope that it works. And then the last thing is it's kind of ironic that a lot of podcasters, from what you've been saying, Amit, will complain about a one centralized platform, but then publish to YouTube. Right?
Wow, now you're talking bad about us now.
And
Okay,
put it on
yeah,
YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's like
Confession time.
It's one or the other. Yeah, it's one or the other. You
Because
can't
no one
complain
cares that
about
much
decent...
about censorship. They care about an audience at the end of
Yes.
the day. That's
Yes. Absolutely. I agree completely.
And I hope y'all
And,
listening. I hope people are listening
so-
because I'm taking diligent notes in my head right now. Okay.
Yeah. And rewatch it as well, folks. Rewatch it as well.
Definitely.
But I think from my point of view, with my sort of workflow, Steve mentioned, you step outside of your workflow and things start to go a bit wobbly, is that if I can automate it somehow, or if it doesn't, like you said, you click upload, you give it the 2 files, type in a couple of sentences, which you could probably copy paste from somewhere else if you've already written it, and then hit go, right? That's not going to affect my workflow. I'm willing to give it a go. I don't mind. I'll give it a try. Let's check this out. And if, let's do it. Let's do it, because what is the absolute worst case scenario? You spend 10 minutes chopping some audio up, you build up a thumbnail, you upload it, and nothing happens. But of course, that is not going to be the case, because if there are people who are interested in your content, they're going to click it, then they're going to get more content related to it, right? So I see it as win-win. Right, I'm trying to be skeptical, but it just works out as win-win for me.
The biggest skeptical argument again that I've gotten is like this whole centralization versus RSS thing. But seems like you guys, I mean, you're kind of making sense to me, and you're kind of agreeing with what my whole thesis is. Not because you're trying to agree, but because it's logical. It's like you don't have to stop distributing through RSS. You can keep doing that. But it's also like if that's going to keep getting 0 listens, and then you try something new, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm already thinking about workflow, man. I'm like, okay, as I'm editing the audio podcast, or whoever's going to be editing the podcast, I can be like, hey, you know what? Hey, at timestamp 540 to timestamp, 15:17. Hey, take that out. And then now I got my own separate. It's not even outside my workflow. I got my own separate clip that I feel like is pretty dope. And I just pull that out, and now I already have the artwork already set up, right? Now you pull that piece out, you send it over there. I'm talking to myself. That's where I'm working this out, because I'm from New York too, man. So I'm like, I talk it out and then try to figure it out myself. So,
and that piece that you take out now is a highly targeted piece of content. And you don't have to fight the attention problem anymore. You're not asking someone for 50 minutes. You're asking them for 7 to 8. And 7 to 8 minutes is not that bad. And it's a funnel, because if they enjoy those 7 to 8 minutes, they'll probably listen to the next 50.
Guess what?
That's kind of
That's too cool.
And that's the most interesting thing to me, is that when I give my sorry, James, I know we're running.
Oh, no worries, brother. No worries.
A little, but like when I give my audio to my editor, he'll come back to me with a 4-minute. Here is some stuff from the episode.
See?
Just like I don't know the content, but this is what he says to me. He says, I don't know the content because y'all are talking programming, but here are 4 minutes of just you and the guest talking about something.
Right.
You could probably use that as a trailer or something. And I put music behind it and I stick it up on Twitter, and it doesn't get views because nobody's going to stop scrolling. I'm doing this as if I'm on a computer, but nobody's going to stop scrolling to, oh, what's this video? But if it goes onto Audia, then like you say, it can be a funnel for other content. You then go, hey, look, here's 5 minutes of these 2 people, these 3 people, these 4 people having this intense conversation about some stuff that's really important. and then go check out this other stuff. Like you were saying about what Joe Rogan does with his show, right? You chop it up into bits, you stick it up on the website. You see, this is what I mean. I have these ideas, and
Yeah,
you're gonna have to
dude.
shut me up, Steve. Steve, shut me
I
up.
know, right?
We're gonna have to
That's
do
how we
another round,
process
is what
stuff.
it is. So, I mean, the dialogue and the conversation is so good, but you know, it again, it stemmed from this tweet that you sent out, Amit, and just having the conversation around this and how it resonates, how you're trying to, again, well, how you're working at changing the whole paradigm of how people distribute audio content. We came with different opinions, right? We all came with different perceptions and wanted to hear, right? So innocent until proven guilty kind of thing, and really wanted to understand your mindset and your thought pattern and your flow. I'm gonna put this into use. I'm definitely, like I said, going to figure this out. And the challenge to everyone, either on the panel, and challenge the folks that are listening and watching, if you're in the content creator ecosystem and you're looking at creating a podcast, unfortunately, there were a higher number of folks on a poll that I had on YouTube that did not have a podcast yet, but that might be okay, right? Because 2022, you can start over and do something. But take a look at these platforms. Take a look at something like an audeas.io and see if this resonates and this matches with what you're looking to accomplish along your journey, man. I'm gonna send it around the horn. I'm gonna start with Jamey, then go to Steve, and then close with Amit. But you guys tell us where we can find you, what you got coming up next. Before you do all that, I must say thank you to you three as well for your time and your attention and your information. But Jamey, how about you, man? Talk to us real quick.
Oh man, James, thank you for having me on this. This has been amazing. Steve, you're also amazing. And Amit, I'm hoping to see more of this that you're putting together in the very, very near future. I can be found on Twitter as Podcaster J, PODCASTERGAY, JAY, sorry. And you can see James has quite thankfully, very helpfully put a URL to one of my podcasts on there. They're all linked, like all of them are linked together. So if you end up on one website, you can get to the others from there. That's not a problem. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody. What I've got coming up is in January, or rather earlier this year, I had the chance to interview a gentleman called Steve Kent, who is also known as the video game journalist. He's put out a series of books about the history of video games, and I had a couple of video podcast interviews with him. They are coming out in January and February because we talked for, I think, collectively for about 5.5 hours about the history of video games. So that's being split up into 4 parts, going to be releasing over a 2-month period. And Amit, I mean, I might have to take 10 minutes of each episode and put them on your platform, and why not, right? So definitely reach out, and like I said, I'm on Twitter, Podcaster J. Reach out, DMs are open. You want to have a chat? Let's have a chat.
Can't hear you, James.
You
Jamey's Jamey's being a little he's been a little humble there, man. He's like a Microsoft MVP. He's won a whole bunch of awards for all of his stuff. So don't let the smooth taste fool you, man. Jamey's doing big things, man. And so I had to do it on my man for a second. So you can Podcasters Live, definitely you can reach us there at our website. Right. It's it'll take you right now to our YouTube channel. We're launching the website in January. Pretty excited about it. It is going to be kind of a one-stop shop for everything that a podcaster needs to know and understand about utilizing live streaming to grow their audience and enhance their brand. The other one is of course Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy. So we took a little bit of hiatus because this is my busy time of the year professionally. But we are going to be launching a 21-day episode with 21 Laws of Leadership starting on January 1st. We're going to release a little 5 minutes. So I will probably, now that I talked to Mitt, these episodes are going to be only about 7 minutes long. So guess where they're going to be going?
Guess where they're going?
Guess where they're going to be going? Not just to the legacy guys, but we go talk about we talk about the new kids on the block. And Matt, your tweet, like I say, it caught my eye, and it just caught my attention. And I was like, okay, I got to send this to some people, man, because this dude's onto something, or he's not. Like I got to figure this out. Am I like I was like, am I crazy? I sent it to James and these guys. Like, am I crazy, or this dude like kind of like a mad scientist, right? And the response that I got was like, yeah, but, except for these guys that are on this screen who actually started thinking a little bit differently. And so
Right.
I truly believe that you're onto something. And I'm going to send you my address for that hoodie, extra large. Just thought I'd put that on record so that if I don't get it, then you know what? I'm going to send some people and you're going to be swimming with the fishes, man.
Yeah,
So
he had that East Coast come out of all of y'all right there, boy. Man, what about you, sir?
Yeah, man. No, I just checked out your website, Jamey and Steve. So I'm definitely gonna keep up with you guys. Awesome stuff. I'm surprised you got that podcasting live domain name. That's podcasterslive.com. That sounds like a $10,000 domain name. So that's amazing. Love that. Yeah, man. I'm just trying to grow Audea for anyone who wants to check it out. It's in the App Store on iPhone. AUDEA. I think we all got the same mission at the end of the day. We're trying to get a better slice of the attention pie in a medium that we know is growing exponentially, which is audio. And we're trying to do it in a way that rewards us for the time and the effort we're putting into our stuff, even though we know it's going to take a long time. And because I think we all have that North Star, Audea is just trying to be something that's different than what the legacy guys are doing, because we know the legacy guys are going to reward the legacy publishers, and try to change things up. I don't know if we're going to win. I really don't. I can say I know, but it doesn't mean anything if we actually win. I think I'm convincing enough to get people to at least give the idea a listen, whether it's through Twitter or through speaking. But now it's time to execute. And I think 2022 for all of us is about execution and just taking it to the next level. So hopefully we can do that, and hopefully we can talk in a couple months and see where we're at.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I'm not going to belabor it. I'm just going to say, again, thank you to all of you for your time, your attention, and your information. Folks, definitely take a look at audeas.io. Take a look at Podcasters Live. Take a look at the .net podcast. Some fantastic content out there. This is it. I'm wrapping up 2021. This is a good way to close out the year.
With the last episode of 2021? With the last one?
This is my last official stream for the year. So
what? You stop. You're lying. So I'm just gonna call BS on that right now, because in about 2 hours you're gonna be streaming, no sleep, team, no sleep.
It's time for you to go.
I'm gonna mess with James for a second, man, because when I started doing this live stream thing, I was like, man, I was figuring the thing out, and then I came upon, some of his stuff, and I was like, oh, this dude's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. And then I look at one live stream, and I'm like, hold up, it's like 2 hours later, he's done another one. Then like 2 hours later, he's got another. Like, how many live streams does this dude have? Like, this
James
is ridiculous.
He's hustling.
This is crazy.
Get it out there.
Yeah.
Do it.
Now I got two. I'm trying to catch up. So this dude's out
catch
there,
up.
man.
You'll start getting more silver in the beard, just like me, man. You don't want to do it, man. See,
Smooth,
here comes
man.
Dr.
You
Riley
rock
right
that
here. Watch, he'll be live in a few minutes. Mark, I might do something. I don't know. This is
You
the
rock
last
that
official
silver,
one.
James. You know how to rock
I am gonna send you my address too for that audeas.io extra large.
I'm just saying.
Shouts out to
right?
Extra Large.
I'm just saying.
So.
It ain't just me. It's
Yeah,
pretty dope. I got
that's
a black one on myself for Podcasters Live, but I like
I'm
that
rocking
one.
the Ecamm gear, but that audeas.io. You know anybody over there, Amit, that works at the company? Well,
I love how we all rock in our own stuff, because like we got to be our biggest cheerleaders. Like,
gotta be.
Man.
All right, y'all.
I gotta point out I'm not, so.
Oh, see,
So
Well, you're
You need to
successful.
catch
You're
up,
the
brother. You
Microsoft
need to
Vice
catch
President
up.
or some shit, right?
You
You're
need to catch up.
successful.
Hilarious. Y'all be good to yourself. Appreciate you. Have a great holiday. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Give somebody a call who you haven't called in a while. And again, thank you, gentlemen, for wrapping up 2021 for me, because this was pretty darn cool. So
It was.
be good to yourself, and I'll talk to everybody later.
Thanks for having me, James.
All right, man.
Thank you.
All right.